Hi, my name is Jessica, and I wanted to share how I set up my vocabulary station after years of doing reading and research about the best ways to deliver vocabulary instruction. How I set up that station now to really get the most out of it. For a long time, I've had prefixes and suffixes in there, and the kids had to match them, and that was great, except what I noticed is they did it mindlessly. So while the idea behind it and, it was geared towards what they should be learning, it was words pulled out of the books we were reading, and so I was spending all this time finding vocabulary words and then making the station myself and making it so they had to match the prefix and the suffix to a base word. But the kids, there was no learning happening that was equivalent to the effort I was putting in. And that was always so frustrating to me. And so I knew I needed to find a way to make the station easier for me as a teacher, but also more authentic for my students. Because my ideas were there, just the execution wasn't. And so what I came back to and what I realized is the best way for them to learn those words is through their reading. So what I started doing is I started putting the books in a basket that we were already reading. So read alouds, guided reading books, I would put them in the basket. But I didn't put them in the basket by themselves, okay? So during those lessons, I would explicitly teach vocabulary, which is best practice. So I would explicitly, define words for them, tell them about them, we discuss the words. So we do all those steps, but we also know that students have to see words more than one time in that lesson to really commit it to memory and to understand. So this is what I started doing. Love this book, by the way. So I started putting rereads in my vocabulary station, and I would include a sticky note that defined the word. So they may or may not remember what a babushka is in this story. Hopefully they would. It's such a prevalent part of the story, but I define it for them. So when they're doing that reread, they can do a self-check. They can say, okay, do I remember correctly what it is? And if not, they can clarify understanding before continuing to read. And I love that it's, excuse me, right there on the page. That works out fantastic. And, they love sticky notes. So some other ways that you'll see me use sticky notes in my vocabulary instruction. Is again, I have the word defined on the page that the word is used. So that's super helpful. It's right there. It's not on a poster where they have to look at the page and look at the poster. The word is defined for them right there. And then there's also an activity waiting for them. Now they don't necessarily have to do the Frayer model while they're on that page of the book, but they know they need to pull it off, and that's something they need to do. And that's their accountability. That's how I know they accomplished something in this station. So it's really great. And again, having it on a sticky note, fifth graders love that. Here in this book, and they also love this book, by the way, have the definition, but I also have an image. So this image really helps them understand the word. We know that that association, image with definition, really helps clarify for students the definitions. So this is another great way to kind of drive home that word. And my last, but that's in the basket today, is that I have matches, okay? So I left them on the sheet of paper so I could show you guys a lot easier. So with this book, they have an image and then they have the definition, and after they read, they can do a match, okay? And match up the image to the correct definition. These are just a few of the ways, I've started using rereads in my vocabulary station. I think it's great. The kids are really engaged because they love the book the first time around. And so they would ask me all the time, can I read that book again? Can I read that book again? So I found a way for them to reread the story and also to really solidify those new words for them, because we know they have to see them more than once. And so this really creates that opportunity for them. So after we finish a book, I just put an activity on it and I stick it in the basket. It's so much easier than me creating something new every week. There's not a lot to print off. I just use the books I already have and stick an activity on there. And then they just take that sticky note, it's already sticky, and they stick it on my exit board on their way out the door, which is great, okay? And like I said, fifth graders, for whatever reason, love a sticky note. So that's what I really stuck with. But if you didn't want to use a sticky note, an easy solution, print it on the sheet of paper, cut it out. It's an easy task card, and you're done. So I hope this helps you make your vocabulary station easier.